everyone, and welcome to episode 257 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network and the Alternative Football Network. Ryan, Trey, and Adam here this evening with our Week 5 CFL preview, talking through each of the games with storylines, fantasy players to watch, and our betting picks for each of them. We're also live taking your comments and questions in our live chat throughout the night, so if you're joining us, feel free to send them in there, and that's all brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV, which you can learn more about at GameTimeTV.ca or Facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. Let's bring in the rest of the panel here this evening. I'm Ryan, joined first of all by a man who might have as many hat changes tonight as there are episodes of this podcast. It's the great Adam Stewart. Adam, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I think pre-show I already had 4 hat changes. I don't know. Going to be an interesting night for the hats. We might see the Mr. Manitoba hat. No, we see that one already. We might see the Sexy Stables eventually on Trey Colbeck. What are you thinking tonight, Trey?
Actually, I lost this hat for the last week. That's why I didn't have it last week, and I found it today. I hid it. I don't know why I put it behind the kids' TV. I don't know how it ended up there, but I think I was just tired trying to turn on some TV show to keep them quiet, and then I found it there just about half an hour ago. No Sexy Stables today, just Mr. Manitoba. I'm okay. I'm okay. Still choked about Sunday. Too many walk-off field goals, man, and that's not good for a heart when you're a degenerate gambler. All those walk-off field goals, right? So, but yeah, maybe you know what? Honestly, another good week on tap. We got some good games this week.
Yeah, and we'll get into each of the games there for sure. Yeah, what a week. 3 games with game-winning field goals in the final second. Happen to be all 3 winless teams, end up still winless as a result. We know one team is going to remain winless this week. That is the Edmonton Elks. We'll see if the Bombers and the Ticats can get themselves out of the basement and get Owen off their back, but that will remain to be seen, and I don't know if I'm too hopeful of that. So we'll talk about each of those games here tonight. We'll talk about each of the teams here. I see some comments in the chat already. Hello, everybody joining us live here. Before we go any further, we do want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. If you want additional content, as I see Trey getting out the whiteboard, it looks like they're already gearing up for a show full of hot takes here, I'm sure. You can also see Trey's hot takes over in the Discord community. Link is in the episode description. It's free to join us over there. We've got live game chats for each of the games every week going on there. Lots of CFL fantasy talk. We throw out CFL betting props in the Discord as well. It's a lot of fun. And shout out to everybody interacting with us regularly over there throughout the season as well. Free to join. Link is in the episode description for that. All right, let's dive right into our first game of the week. It is the Toronto Argonauts visiting the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Argos 4-point favorites going into this game. Thursday night matchup. Riders coming off the bye, but Adam, they're looking a little different than last time they started the game.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. Well, one thing, I guess, we did see Shea Patterson start the second half last week. I guess he will be now the starting quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders after Trevor Harris took out, didn't take it out, but stretched it, I guess, has a stretched knee ligament. Not really good for Saskatchewan. He's been put on the 6-game injured list. They then went and made a signing this week, brought in former Winnipeg Blue Bomber quarterback for a week or so. I don't know how long he was there. Eric Barrier. So he'll be your third short yardage quarterback. Yeah, all 3 are on the active roster for this week, including Jack Cohn, who'll be the backup. And Shea Patterson will get his first CFL career start. Also looking at a little bit of a different offense out there. We don't have Sean Bain Jr. as Rough Riders for this game. He is out with personal reasons. Nevertheless, I think that, this is a whole different looking Rider team, and this isn't the one that looked like a 3-0 team. Any hope or anything that tells you maybe the Rough Riders could possibly pull an upset here? Ryan?
I mean, they do have USFL legend Shea Patterson starting at quarterback, first overall pick in that league. So, but I don't know if it amounted to really too much over there in the USFL. I don't have a ton of hope for Shea Patterson. Justice for Mason Fine. I voted that in Adam's polls this week. Bring back Mason Fine. No, Patterson, he might be good, right? He might be. We've seen backup quarterbacks come in and do great things a lot in recent years because they've had to due to injuries. I didn't like what I saw from him in that game against the Ticats. I think they were fortunate to be up by quite a bit already, where I don't think Patterson really brought the game home necessarily in that one. So, yeah, I'm a little iffy on him as a passer. I think he's going to run a lot. I mean, we'll talk about another quarterback in Chris Streveler that once we get to that game, that I see a lot of comparisons of a guy that, is going to be able to run pretty well. I'm just not sure I'm convinced on his passing abilities. And with the Argos, we've seen, a pretty tenacious defensive line pressure, and the Riders' offensive line struggles. I'm a little worried here for the Riders in this one without Trevor Harris, not going to lie. But, Trey, you're the number one Rider fan on the podcast here. What do you think?
Absolutely not worried. The Riders have already been through hell and back, and it's been 3 weeks. What's a quarterback injury at this point, right? They've won from undisciplined penalties. They've won by having no run game. They've won by fluky last-second interceptions and fumbles, and they're, who cares? Who cares? I think they'll do enough to still get it done. And, if we look at the other side of the ball, Toronto's got a few injuries themselves. They're missing some receivers, some on the defense, some O-line. We're starting to get in week 5 here. Injuries pile up. I don't like the injury talk because it's football. Have we ever seen a team go all 18 weeks or 21 weeks with no injuries? Never. So I think we'll get an undefeated team before we ever see that again. So, injuries are going to happen. Am I sold on Patterson? Nah, but I mean, like you said, every great quarterback that's in the league right now had these opportunities. Tom Brady came in as a second stringer that no one thought was going to amount to anything. Patterson could be it. He was supposed to be the heir apparent in Winnipeg, right? And then they cut him after one preseason game. So obviously there's something about that kid. He's third string and doing short yardage, but I'm not too worried. I think that's got to get going at some point, and Hickson's now the backup. I think some of them, those two guys got to get going at some point.
Yeah, well, Rick Barrier is great at throwing the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We learned that in preseason. So it's just they're defenders. But, that was the reason he was let go. Very disappointing because I thought, Streveler is going to be brought in as backup, and Barry is kind of the quarterback you build on for the future, and that didn't pan out in Winnipeg. Maybe that will pan out in Saskatchewan because I wonder, Trevor Harris getting up there in age, big injury last year, now another big one this year. We'll see how long it takes him to get back from it. Like, how many years does Trevor Harris have left in the tank, and where do the Riders go from here is what I wonder going forward. Adam, you put out a kind of an interesting poll question of what to do with Trevor Harris being out this week. And I feel like you got some interesting answers to that question.
Yeah, for sure I did. I mean, I had, given the thing, if you became or you just morphed into the general manager's role of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, what would you be doing about this situation here? Some of the answers were bring in Mason Fine, Ryan. There was also just, let Shea Patterson cook. Just remember that Shea Patterson used to be a University or U of M player, University of Michigan, not Manitoba. So he was considered one of the highest prospects in the high school ranks way back in the day. Watch a really cool video if you go on YouTube and type in Shea Patterson. You can see a little bit of his history. And boy, this guy was highly touted coming out of high school. Just couldn't really get much going with Michigan, then moved on to I think it was Iowa Aggies or something like that. I'm sorry, Brandon, because I know he's going to be judging me in the chat right now for my lack of NCAA knowledge. But no, he ended up becoming still a pretty good serviceable quarterback. And he had a good year in the USFL the one time. So hard to say. And there's no film on him. That's the biggest key Riders have right now. There's really no film on him in the 3-down game. You're going to get an opportunity here to show what you got. And, Hey, the Riders brought in a no-name guy from BC a couple of years ago named Cody Fajardo.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Yeah, I don't know. Ended up becoming an all-star that year and absolutely dominated, but never heard of him. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, that was one of the options. A few guys chose that. A few guys chose Mason Fine, just to probably get my blood boiling. And then there was also the option of trades. And there was a few interesting trade options there. I know a few guys said phone Edmonton, try to get Trey Ford. Be a cool trade, but I don't think he'll be available for almost anything because I don't think Edmonton, not Chris Jones, I don't think Edmonton, the ownership would ever let him go right now. Because if they need to sell tickets, that's how they sell tickets. There was also the option of trade him for Bo Levi Mitchell.
I think that was a joke answer.
Please, that was a joke. If somebody actually expects us to trade for Bo, no. Anyways, sorry, FM fan. But yeah, those are what we're looking at right now for options. It's kind of neat. And the fourth one was just, sheer and utter panic, which oddly enough, there was about 5 or 6 that selected that too, which can't be good. But nevertheless, I think it's not just that it's Trevor Harris injured right now. It's that there's questions, where is Sean Bain Jr. today? Like, he needs to be there for this game. This is a big one. It's a 3-1 team against a 3-0 team. This is a big one for the Riders, and they really kind of want to show that they can still win, even without Trevor Harris. But having your main receiver off of the board as well, that'll be interesting. Just real quickly, what do you think the Riders do there if there is a space made there? I guess there is. DeAndre Johnson's going to be playing mostly for the Rough Riders in the wide receiver spot. But what is your guys' idea? You got Joe that's still a backup. Probably he plays more, I would assume.
Yeah, I would think so. He showed some good flashes in those couple of games there. So I definitely think he'll get more of an expanded role later on. I don't know if you have a different thought there, Trey, but I see you nodding along. So I assume you're in agreement there on that one.
Next man up. That's it. That's football, man.
Yeah, exactly. On the other side of this matchup, as much as we talked about, unproven Shea Patterson, I'm interested to see how Cameron Dukes bounces back this week. Because last week he faced Montreal's defense, who tears everybody to shreds. And we'll take this topic into our fantasy players to watch this week. Dukes had a down week last week. The first 2 games this year, 31.9, 24.3 points in those ones. Just 8.4 last week for Cam Dukes. Now, was that a byproduct of playing Montreal's defense? Is it somewhere in the middle between all of these? I don't know, but I lean more towards him being successful against this Riders defense. And Cam Dukes is a fantasy player to watch for me this week, I think, at $10,000 because he's got that running ability. He's going to run for, 20, 30 yards a game. He's potentially going to get you in for a rushing touchdown. He's not going to throw for a whole ton, and really his big mark last week was no touchdowns thrown. In his 3 games so far, his highest is 254 passing yards. So he's not going to throw for a ton, but the rushing ability, the discounted price, I think Cameron Dukes makes for an interesting fantasy play there as a cheaper quarterback option. I'll get your guys' thoughts on him, but I'll run through my other players in this game to watch. It's the 2 running backs for me. I'm not taking any receiver with Shea Patterson at quarterback, and I'm not taking any receiver on the Argos, really, because I don't know who's getting the ball on either of these teams. Nobody really stands out from the Argos and at receiver as the target hog, so to say, for me. So it's the 2 running backs I really like, though. I think A.J. Ouellette, his breakout's coming. And maybe, it probably came last game, 20 carries for 98 yards, 4 catches for 47. But in 2 of his 3 games so far, 18 carries, 20 carries. Like, he's getting that workload. It's just a matter of can the offensive line block for him. And I think this week with Patterson, I'm expecting a lot of dump-offs to A.J. Ouellette. So I think that's a good play there. And Kadeem Carey has been on fire so far this year. A bit of a down game last week with 11.7, but if that's a down game for a running back, I think that's pretty good. And he's been running well so far this year. He's also been catching the ball well, 3 or 4 catches in every game so far this year. I like a pass-catching running back in PPR leagues. So Give me Dukes, Carey, and Olette as three potential players I'm strongly considering putting in my lineup this week. We'll go over to you guys. First, I guess expectations for Cameron Dukes, and then who do you got from this game, Adam?
For fantasy wise, who I've got in this game is exactly what you just said. I've got Dukes. I've got I had Oliveira and then I switched, so you convinced me of Olette. Even though I really didn't want to pick Olette this week, I was going to try to be a anti-rider pick this week for players. But you got a good point on him, so I'll probably pick him up. And I do have Kadeem Carey because he has been running Ruck Shaw over almost every team, and the Riders are one of those teams that can get run on, I think, a little bit. So, yeah, those are the three guys I've got. What was the other question you had there, Ryan?
Just expectations for Cameron Dukes.
I expect him to come back. I think he's actually a pretty good quarterback, and the Riders do have a very good defense. I'll give them that right now. They have had got some pressure on Bo Levi last game a little bit, and they were showing that they can still be a little bit of ball hockey. So they're going to go and probably play that pressure game again. I'm sure that Corey Mace is going to want to make the Argos team, his ex-team, a little bit impatient and a little bit angry about, he wants to show that he didn't leave and he was the wrong guy to let go. So I think that probably you'll see a fired up Rider defense. That being said, it could be on the field a lot, especially if Shea Patterson's doing a lot of 2-and-outs. So I think Dukes is going to have a better game just because I think the Riders defense might get tired after the third quarter, fourth, somewhere in there. So, Trey?
Yeah, I don't really have anything different. You guys, I guess you've been living in my head all week. I like both running backs, like you said, and Cameron Dukes. I think, I could see this game being every game Saskatchewan's been in, it's been close, right? So even if Saskatchewan wins, we all know I'm going to say that later. It's going to be a close one. So I think Dukes will definitely bounce back. But I also see what you said, Adam. It's, we see crazy things when former players or former coaches play their old teams. So you never know how it goes. But I think if either team needs to win, they got to get their running back highly involved, which would be great for fantasy.
All right, let's get into our betting picks for this game. But first, a recap of last week.
For spreads, we all went 2-2, and the dreaded coin went 0-4. Womp, womp, womp. So that puts me at 10-5-1. Ryan's at 8-7-1. Adam's 6-9-1, and the coin is 5-10-1. For over-unders, we each went 2-2, so you guys are both at 10-6, and I'm at 9-7. And my money line, I'm at 14-2 because of that Sunday night. That Sunday night game. But we got a good -4. The Argos, I guess home field doesn't matter here because the Argos come into town, into Riderville, the -4 favorites, over under 48.5. Give me the Rough Riders +4. I'll also take Saskatchewan money line and give me the over on this one. Ryan, who do you like?
Yeah, interestingly, last week when we were doing these picks, we were talking about how the week before they averaged like 63 points a game across the CFL games, which was the highest of the season. And then all the lines were inflated, and then every game hit the under last week. So now my mind is messed up based on all of that. But no, I think get in on this line while it's low. Toronto -4, give that to me. Heck, I would play if increases the payout. I would consider paying the Argos up to -7, -10. I even threw out in the Discord the other day, a low bet at a high payout for something like that. Like I said, I don't have a ton of faith in Shea Patterson, and the Argos are that team that finds a way to get it done. I'm granted the Riders have been too, but I think the Riders have that discipline problem as well. They've had a bunch of close calls so far this season. I'm waiting for it to come crashing down, and I think that happens without Trevor Harris at the helm here. So yeah, give me Toronto -4 on the official line we're going with here. And I will take the under on this one because I don't know if their offense is going to move the ball a ton. And the Argos might move the ball a little bit, but I don't think spectacularly to go over 48.5 here. So I will take the Argos to cover and under. Adam.
Well, I'm not sure on this one also because there's no game film on Shea Patterson. There's a little bit of backup work, and again, second half, it's hard to say what they're going to bring. Sometimes in the plays last week, so the game was kind of in hand for the Riders, so it's a harder team to judge. There's 22,700 tickets sold for this one so far, which is well under what the Riders usually sell for tickets. I don't expect a big crowd in this one for the Riders. I'm going to go with the Argonauts. Unfortunately, I didn't really want to, but in another way, I think the Argonauts are probably going to win this one. It'll be close, though. I think Toronto does beat them by more than 4. I'm saying a touchdown probably is what I'm thinking. And give me the under. I don't see Saskatchewan scoring a whole lot of points unless all of a sudden AJ Ouellette explodes for 150, 200 yards or some really crazy thing. I don't see the Riders really putting up a lot of points in this one. So let's see what the coin says. Whoop. Drop it. Well, I guess the head is the Saskatchewan side. Coin's taken Saskatchewan. Let them, well, I hope they're right, but I just don't see it, to be honest with you. So I guess I got to switch hats.
There we go again.
Oh, wait. There we go.
And Trey's got the Riders hat now. Perfect. I need to get more hats. I feel left out sometimes on the show with the lack of hats. Let's take a look at some player props as well. I think, we talked pre-show a little bit. We're going to narrow it down a little bit with player props here on the show. We're each going to give you our favorite player prop of the game. And then if you want more, check out the Discord because pretty much every game, assuming we have time to look at them on game day because they don't come out too far ahead of time. Trey and I are throwing out some player prop picks in the Discord, so check those out there. Trey, you're the betting expert here. What's your favorite prop for this game?
Ooh, let's go shake and bake over 4.5 receptions at plus 112. Sometimes these player props very rarely are in the plus odds, unless you get something crazy where you can pick and choose. But yeah, plus 112 at over 4.5. I think Keon's going to get the ball a lot, especially with a newer quarterback. Right? Adam?
And you are muted and half frozen.
Brilliant.
I think you're good now.
I'm just taking a look here really quickly. I'm going to go with Kadeem Carey getting over 65.5 yards. I think that the Toronto Argonauts are going to run the ball quite a bit and tire out that Rider defense. So, yeah, give me the over on Kadeem Carey getting 65.5.
I'm going to look at the quarterbacks here, and I could really go with either of them on the under, actually. Shea Patterson's at 252.5, and Cam Dukes is at 264.5. It's a little bit spicier, so I think I'm going to go with the Cam Dukes under at 264.5. Like I said before, he had 254 as max on the season. He had one around 210, one under 200. He's not an elite passing quarterback. He's more of a mobile quarterback. So give me the Cameron Dukes under against this Riders defense this week, especially with some of the injuries they've got going on. Wide receiver there as well. All right, that brings us into game number 2 here of the week, and it's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Ottawa Red Blacks. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Winnipeg and Ottawa, they played a couple weeks ago. The game got delayed in the final 2 minutes due to a lightning storm. They came back, and the Bombers found a way to lose, as they have every game this year. But for some reason, they are still the betting favorites, at 2.5-point favorites in this game Friday night. Where do you guys want to begin on this game? Trey, let's go to you first. What intrigues you most about this matchup?
I guess it's the health of some of the Bombers, right? Like, it looks like Claros isn't starting. I don't know, is Strevy's arm there? Like, it seems like his arm, like, seems like he fell asleep on his arm in the preseason and it hasn't got on numb yet. Anytime he has a chance to throw it, I don't know what's going on with him.
Did Striffler ever have an arm?
Yeah, he did a little bit. It was not as bad, I don't think. But
he had the strength, at least.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I heard him say something about, or maybe it wasn't him or somebody said that because they've just focused so much on his gadget plays that he's never really had a chance to stretch the arm out. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, that's true. When you play, like I play baseball, if you don't throw the ball and then the first time you throw the ball, it does feel kind of awkward. So maybe they didn't warm him up enough in the preseason or in training camp, but I don't know what's going on there. I'm not too confident in this team if Collaros is the quarterback, and I'm not too confident if Streveler is the quarterback. I have a hell of a lot more faith in Patterson and then Streveler and Collaros. So I'll tell you that right now. But maybe that's just my my cynicalness around this team. There's no way they should be favored, but I mean, and the injuries and receiving core, and they can't catch a break because Lucky Whitehead's supposed to sign, but he doesn't have a passport or something now, or there's some issues. Like, they can't catch a break, right? Like, even a guy that's not on the team can't play for them. So I don't know what they're going to do, man. Like, I'll have to go out there on Friday night and catch some balls. So maybe me. Ryan, you're about 6'4". Maybe that's a good target.
Yeah, 6'3", something like that.
6'4". That's not a bad target, man.
Zero athletic ability, but I think I'd fit right in right now.
Exactly. So I don't know, man. This team is just, Plus 2.5 Ottawa just screams like that. Oh, pick me. So.
No, I'm with you though on the Streveler situation there. Looking back at it now, like, he was the flashy addition. The fan base went nuts over it in the offseason because we remember Chris Streveler from that Grey Cup victory, right? And he's the fan favorite, and that's great. And he was probably the player that got the biggest ovation at the start of the season and player intros. And where else in the world do you see the backup quarterback get a standing ovation like that?
Saskatchewan.
Well, yeah, for entirely different reasons, though, right? Where he is the fan favorite, and he is a great addition for that short yardage gadget plays during the game if your starting quarterback and Zach Collaros is on his game and healthy. I don't think it was a good addition for this scenario where he's not, and I don't think Collaros will be out a long time. I think they're being safe with him here. But let's say he is out for a long time. I don't think Streveler is the passing quarterback you need. I think this past week, Calgary kind of gave us the model of exactly how you shut him down right there in overtime. They blitzed him hard. He underthrew the pass, and he was picked off on that one there. So I kind of wish in hindsight, they kept Dakota Prukop as that short yardage guy, and they brought in a passing quarterback as the backup in a role that kind of like Drew Brown had. So I love Streveler. I love the energy he brings. I mean, he leads the Bombers, and if not the league in touchdowns on the season. He's the only Bomber to throw a touchdown pass this year through 4 weeks. But I just don't have faith in his long-term ability as a passing quarterback, and I think he'd need to be a bit more of a passing quarterback than he is here. And the receivers aren't giving him much help right now either. There were a lot of dropped balls the other day. Love the addition of Lucky Whitehead. I think you need to bring in Lucky Whitehead. That was a great addition once he joins the team. I would go one further if I was Winnipeg and see what you can do to get a guy like Terry Godwin in here as well. Because Dalton Schoen's out for the season. You're racking up injuries like crazy here. Yeah, Lawler's cast supposedly came off, so he's a couple weeks away. But I think they need help, and they need help quick on offense. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah, same thing as all of you guys just said. Chris Streveler makes an awesome running back. He's not really much of a quarterback. Again, I've watched him through the first time he was in the league, before they really got Zach Collaros. He was throwing the ball and he looked like Michael Bishop doing it. He had a good arm, but he couldn't get anywhere near accurate. Yeah, I bring out the 08 references. Watch this. Anyways, I just look at Chris Streveler and I say this is not a quarterback that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers need, not at this point. Especially when they're short receivers and experienced receivers to try to help them out a little bit. Yes, they've got Nick Dembski. They got Drew Wolodarski, and that's pretty much the extent of the experience right now in Winnipeg, unfortunately. They're going to have to rely on their running back, their actual running back, not the quarterback that thinks he's a running back, Brady Oliveira, to try to lead them through this. And I don't know if he's still a little bit banged up or what the story is with him. I think he's back to 100%, I've heard. But he's got to show it, and he's got to lead this team out of this, because right now, I can tell you right now, the quarterback situation isn't doing it for him.
Well, can we talk about Oliveira's comments from either this week or the week before, where he said their record would be better if they gave him the ball more? Like, is trouble in paradise happening here? They bring their guy back on this big contract, and through 3 games, he's 11 carries, 9 carries, and 10 carries. Like, we talked about Ouellette getting 20 carries a game, like, especially for passing attacks struggling here. Brady should be getting that many a game like he did last year, should he not?
I would think so. He's one of the most outstanding Canadians, or consideration for it every year, just because of the yardage he can put up, and that's what the Blue Bombers have been relying on for the last few years. It's been this receivers for the first 3 quarters, and Brady Oliveira down your throat for the 4th. So Oliveira goes get some plays during the other game, during the rest of the game too, but mainly they always brought him in the 4th quarter, and he just dominated because the defense on the other side was tired. And that's the way it went. But now when you're going with 10 reps, 11 reps for Brady Oliveira, and that's all you're giving him, that doesn't work very well. And especially when you don't have a very experienced receiving core right now. I'm aware that their offensive line has changed a little bit. Maybe they're a little gun-shy on trying to that Brady Oliveira might get hurt or something might happen. But they got to get Brady Oliveira running if they're going to have any hope to come back out of this hole.
To be fair, have they ever been in a position in the 4th to just run the ball this year? That's another thing. So, we kind of talked about Oliveira last year, where he was a sneaky guy. Like, we never thought of him as a 1,000-yard rusher because he got them all on the 4th when we're already out leaving the game, right? Or, thing, right? So this year they've never been in a position. They weren't going to run the ball when they, lost and the rain delay. They weren't going to run the ball when they're trying to catch, tie Calgary. They're not in those positions, and I don't know. I think what's happening, and you see kind of it from all the team, is they're not used to 0-4. So I think, again, it's going to be you're right, it's trouble in paradise. It's going to start pointing fingers at, well, we did this and that and this and that, and I think it's something they're not used to. Like I said, my kids who are 8, 6, and 9, 6, and 2, the 6 and 9-year-old, they don't know the Bombers lose. You know what I mean? And that's how it is, because I wish I was like that at their age. They always thought the Bombers win every game, because every game they go to, Bombers win. And that's kind of what the players on the team think too. They're so used to winning, and now that's a year that they actually have some adversity. And I don't think there's that magical quarterback they're going to be able to bring in week 17 that fixes everything.
Saskatchewan, they'll learn all about losing pretty quick.
Can I give you a hot take here? This might be some of the most fun I've had as a Bomber fan over the last couple of years, is this moment right now where, it's I don't want to jinx it by saying this, because there was a 29-year drought and plenty of misery before then. But over the last years, I'm right with what you were saying about your kids there, Trey, where it's like all they've seen is win, and it kind of gets a little boring going into a game just expecting your team's going to win every time. For me, it's fun. At 0-4, like, is this team actually going to turn it around, go into the game? Are they going to pull out a win here? Is this going to be – because we all think, we know what the team has been capable of, and I would say, this is a team that has the potential maybe to turn things around a little bit if they can get healthy enough to do it. Just a question of when does that happen? How many weeks is it going to go? I'm having fun. 0-4, keep it up. This is great. This is fun. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, remember when Calgary was winning all those games back in the day? Calgary fans wouldn't even bother showing up until probably last 2 games of the season just to start cheering for their team, because they knew who was going to win the games before that. I mean, we have a former podcaster, and I hope he gets back to podcasting soon, that bet 18-0 on the Stampeders for the last 21 years. I mean, like I said, it feels like the same thing in Winnipeg, and you're right, Trey. I still remember when I first came out this podcast how the long-suffering Blue Bombers finally win a Grey Cup, and now all of a sudden it's the long-winning Blue Bombers are losing. What is wrong? And it feels like we're into a new cycle.
This is fun. Losing is fun. That's great. Let's talk about Ottawa a little bit here, because we've talked a lot of Bombers. Ottawa, they have that great come-from-behind win over Hamilton last week. We thought it was all doom and gloom when they let Bo Levi Mitchell march all the way down the field there, put the ball in the end zone, give them the lead. but he left too much time on the clock. 28 seconds left. Drew Brown takes over the ball. 3rd and 1 with 6 seconds left. He finds Braylon Addison for the first down and gets into field goal range for Lewis Ward. That's 2 games now that Ottawa has won. I believe they're, 2-1 this year? 2 close victories, and they got their socks knocked off by the Montreal Alouettes in the other one. So what do we make of Ottawa? I really don't know what to expect from this team on any given week.
I see potential in Ottawa. I think Drew Brown's starting to get a little bit of a groove. He looked pretty good against Hamilton. He's starting to get some extra confidence with his receivers that aren't named Justin Hardy, which is nice to see. Jalen Ackland looked like he got some yards the last game. Like you said, Braylon Addison was moving around a little bit. Dom Rhymes is maybe still a little bit slow kind of getting out of the gate, but he also has some confidence also in his new running back, Rakiel Armstead. Armstead's been running the ball pretty consistently for minus the Montreal game. That one we won't talk about for Ottawa if you want to use consistency. But overall, the run game has been there. The passing game's been there. Their defense, well, let's not talk about that maybe right quite yet. They haven't maybe been so impressive. But the rest of this Ottawa team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I think it's been pretty impressive. Trey?
No, I agree. I kind of look at this league right now. We're only 4 weeks in, but there's kind of what we say 3 tiers. Montreal's tier 1. They seem kind of unstoppable, and I don't know if I quite would put anyone else in there yet. I guess I would put BC and Saskatchewan on the cusp. I want to see what Saskatchewan does with injuries, and I want to see BC keep it consistent. And then there's that middle tier where I'd put Calgary at 2-1, Ottawa at 2-1, Toronto at 2-1, mixed in with Saskatchewan and BC. And then there's the bottom, the bottom feeders of Hamilton and Winnipeg and Edmonton right now, right? So I think they're a good team, and how many years does probably a team in that middle tier end up winning it all? They get hot late, right? They're looking exactly like how Montreal kind of did last year at this time, if not even better than what Montreal did this time last year. I think they just got to work on some issues, and watch it be the thing. If Ottawa and Montreal play 2 or 3 times this year, I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal beats them 3 times. Then in November, who knows what happens, right? And they've got 3 games of film on them. They've played them 3 times, 4 if they played a preseason, and they know everything that's going on, right? So I'm pretty confident in Ottawa that they're going to be plus 500 team as long as there's no crazy injuries, right? So I like what they're doing.
They're 2-0 at home to start the year as well. I don't have the standings from the past couple of years, but is that more home wins than they've had in the last couple of years? But combined, it kind of almost feels like it over the past couple of seasons. So, kudos to Ottawa. They're looking like a much better, well-rounded team this year, and they're getting some good play from some of the guys you talked about. I think Justin Hardy has been that big, step-up guy at wide receiver so far this year, where we thought, they're bringing in Dominic Rhymes. They're bringing him in. Braylon Addison's going to be healthy. Jalen Ackland's still there. It was kind of like Hardy's that underrated guy to me that you never expect him to be the number 1 guy at receiver, but he has been the number 1 guy at receiver, and he had that clutch touchdown last game for them. So, offensively, they're doing well. Devontae Dedmon looks as electric as ever in the return game, I think, and gives them a chance on almost any return, especially if you squib kick it to him and then lose your job for calling a squib kick shortly thereafter, like Hamilton's special teams coach did. Ottawa, they're finding a way to get it done. That was a gutsy effort last week, and kudos to them on it. And let's see what they do in this one. Second time facing the Bombers in a couple of weeks. And let's see what kind of adjustments they make there. Let's get into the fantasy talk on this one. There's a number of players I've got my eye on in this game. Full disclosure, I have a hard time nailing down the running back position this week. I like almost every single starting running back across the teams, and I have not fully made my decision yet on what direction to go. But I do like considering both Brady Oliveira and Raquel Armstead this week. And, Oliveira, I think, is coming in at $10,000? I'm just trying to find the number. Yeah, 10,000 even on the price here. And we talked about his usage has been kind of low this season so far, but that's got to give at some point, especially especially with all the issues they've had at wide receiver and the quarterback injuries. And maybe Strevler being in at quarterback opens it up a little bit more for them. So I do like banking on Oliveira at that price this week in a bounce back game there. I also like Armstead because, well, he's put up over 10 points in 2 of his 3 games, and he's $4,500. So if you want to spend cap money on the explosive players at other positions, why not take the guy who put up 16 points against the Bombers in his first game of the year? At quarterback, not sold on Drew Brown as fantasy quarterback. Zach Collaros is obviously a no-go from a fantasy perspective. If Chris Trevor starts at $7,000 and you want a cap savings there, I mean, his rushing ability, you got to put 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and they haven't brought another one in yet, I don't think. So, Collaros, even if he doesn't play, will probably be on the roster. And Terry Wilson, I don't know how much he's going to get as the short yardage guy. So we can see Trevor do a bit of everything in that game and potentially racking up the points if you want to take a chance on that. At wide receiver, I talked about Justin Hardy already. He has been tremendously solid so far this season. 24.1, 22.9, and 18.5 points. He's got 8+ targets a game in every game. Touchdown in 2 of them, and 70 yards is the minimum for him so far. So I think he eats once again this week. And I swore off taking any Bombers receivers in fantasy, but it's not going to lie, it's tempting on Drew Wolodarski and Nick Dembski because those are the 2 guys that are going to get targeted over and over and over again in this offense, as they did last week. Dembski had 10 targets in each of the last 2 games. Wolodarski had 6 and 7 in his last couple there as well. So those are my players to watch from this game. Let's go to you first, Trey.
In this game, I'm staying away from Winnipeg until further notice. You did intrigue me with the Strevler proposition because you would think he's going to take the short yardage, especially near the goal line. So, and add in maybe 100 passing yards, maybe he'll make it worth it. But until I'm pretty good with salary right now. I like Justin Hardy on Ottawa's side. He's been doing pretty good, averaging the 21.8 points. I don't know if you said him. And I kind of like the Ottawa defense. With Chris Strevler, we're talking about his arm. You never know what's going to go on there. And they're not overly, they're 8.3. They're not the most expensive. They're not the cheapest. But Hamilton at 5.4 against BC is a little dicey too. So I kind of like Ottawa right in the middle to maybe have a good defensive game. Adam, you?
Yeah, I'm looking at this one here. I've been wanting to I wanted to take Nick Dembski right off the bat. I'll be honest. I tried to fit him in. I can fit him in, and I did fit him in. And then it dawned on me that Chris Trevler's the quarterback. And yeah, sorry, no. Just because I can't see Chris Trevler he'll have all the intentions to pass over to Nick Dembski, I'm sure of it. But I don't think he'll ever make one of those passes. So I'm going to switch it over. I'm going with Justin Hardy in this game. And that's really the only play I've got in this one is one of the receivers. Otherwise, yeah, again, defenses are too expensive for what I like to do for defenses. And I'm going to stick to my strategy on that. So, yeah, I'm probably just going to have Justin Hardy, and that's it.
One note I do like on Trey's pick of the Ottawa defense there is, like I said, we saw the blueprint last week how you stop Chris Trevler. You bring the house. Right, and it's going to lead to it's going to lead to some big plays Ottawa's given up. But how many sacks is that going to lead to as well, or turnovers? So I do actually like that. I don't think I have any defensive picks listed in mind here yet. So that would be one that I might strongly consider. Let's look at the betting.
You're welcome, Ryan. You're welcome. Yeah, for the 5th straight week, the Blue Bummers are favorited. Jeez. -2.5. I guess it's that Princess Auto home field advantage with Ottawa coming in the rematch, 2 weeks ago now when they took place at TD Place in Ottawa with the rain delay. I got to go Ottawa +2.5. I got to go Ottawa money line. I doubt my son Jackson's watching, but I'm sorry if you are. I'm actually going to take the over 46.5. Quick math, that's 24-23, and you hit the over. They were close to that last time, and you have to take into account crazy rain. Now, I believe it's supposed to rain a lot this weekend, but I thought Friday was the one night it wasn't, unless it changed. I'm pretty sure I saw rain here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw rain Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So good luck having racing this weekend, guys. But if it stays, I might change that if the rain, because we saw what happened last time it rained. But if it's a nice, Manitoba night, give me the over 24-23. I think those teams will hit it. Adam, let's go with you first in this one.
First of all, sunny and 26 is the weather report.
So. Let's go. So again, that can change in a dime on the prairies, right?
That's true. Yeah,
we could have a snowstorm Thursday night or Friday morning for all we know.
La 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 la! I don't hear you, seeing as I got over $500,000 in the field. Anyways, nevertheless, I'm going to make this one pretty straight. Owen is going to be 5 and going to kindergarten after this game. Give me the Ottawa Red Blacks, and I will go on the over because you're right. It's only 23-20. It's not that far out to get it. I'm going to go with Ottawa and give me the over.
I'll agree.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to flip coin, but you go ahead first.
Oh, well, I'm just going to agree with what you guys took on this one. So the problem is, and I do understand why Winnipeg is favored in some sense, because it's not about who is the better team. It's about how they think bettors are going to bet. And I'm guessing there's a lot of people thinking similarly to where I am, where it's like something's got to give eventually, right? Where it's like this team's going to win a game here and there eventually, but I got to stick with Ottawa right now on this one.
You know what's crazy? Like, I think my 7-11's too generous right now. Like, they have to really turn it around to even hit that. But anyway, What's the coin say, Adam? If it says Winnipeg, I'm done.
It does say the Ottawa Red Blacks this time. Jeez, I was like, if the coin is going Winnipeg, this coin here shouldn't be a rider coin.
What do we like for props in this game, Trey? You got one for us?
I do actually. Well, because you mentioned it, I do stay away from them from fantasy, but give me the over on Waller Tursky. It's only 4.5 on FanDuel right now on perceptions. He's probably going to be one of the go-to targets. He has been, and it's crazy to think. Like, I know he's not really Canadian, but he is the national receiver, and he seems to get a lot of production. So I like Waller Tursky with the over. Adam, do you got any?
Let me take a look here. I have got. Where is it here that I was looking for? Yeah, they don't give you any of the Blue Bombers because they don't know who's going to be in for quarterbacks. I'm going to go with Drew Brown over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think he'll at least get 2, and that breaks it right there. But definitely he's going to have more than 1, that's for sure. So, give me 2 passing touchdowns for Drew Brown. And he's got the receivers to do it. So,
yeah, it's plus odds on Drew Brown over 1.5 touchdowns there. He has not thrown more. He's thrown 1 touchdown in every game so far this year, but he does have the talented receivers, as you say. I'm doubling down on what I said in fantasy. They got to give him more carries. They really do. And even if he gets, between 10 to 15 carries, this rushing line is so low. From what we've seen over the last couple of years. Give me Brady Oliveira over 57.5. Even if he gets, 12 carries, 5 yards apiece, that's giving you 60 yards on that one. I think he gets some more there. So banking on that comeback from him at least, but not banking on that comeback from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Moving into our third game of the week, it is the Calgary Stampeders visiting the Montreal Alouettes. Biggest line of the week, Alouettes 9.5-point favorites. Adam, let's go to you first here. What intrigues you the most?
I'm taking a look over at the Calgary receiving game and the passing game. Jake Nair has gotten a lot better than he was last year, I guess, in his passing game, but that Montreal defense has been just scary to start this season. Bellevue has been running up the middle, has been nailing quarterbacks nonstop. I think they named it in the last game here. Did I say the name wrong again? 26 Montreal.
Beverett,
there we go. I was thinking of John Belleville out of the Montreal Canadiens probably, but close enough. Anyways, Beverett, he's been having an amazing season so far. He's had a forced fumble. He's had an interception. He's had a recovered fumble. And that was only in 1 game against Ottawa. So, and then last game, I think he had 2 sacks, and then he had another fumble recovery. He has been all over the place so far this year, and I really believe that Montreal is going to give Mayer a really good run for his money this game. Mayer's going to be running for his life, essentially, and I don't think he's really much of a running quarterback. Trey, what are you watching for?
I guess I'm going to be watching to see if any team's going to slow down Montreal at this point, because we're getting to the point with, again, like they're 9.5-point favorites against Calgary. And again, like, so the way I look at it is Montreal beat Toronto by 10 last week. Is Calgary better than Toronto? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I want to see where they want to stack up. But on the other side of the ball, I guess I want to see Mayer. He's actually impressed me a little bit lately, and we know how I've been pretty down on him. Coming to this year, Calgary has impressed me by far this year. I know it's 2-1, but I thought they would be one of. If you told me 3 teams were going to be 0-3, I thought they would be one of them. So they're doing a lot better too. And can Calgary put a little bit of a dent into Montreal? That's kind of what I'm interested in.
Oh, my mouse was not working. I couldn't click the unmute button. There we go. I got it fixed. Calgary last week was almost a bit of a disappointment for me. I mean, they beat the Bombers, surely, but the offense looked kind of slow early in that game. The Bombers defense really shut them down. I mean, Dedrick Mills averaged just 3.2 yards a carry in that one. Mayer threw 43 times, only 239 yards. Not a super impressive game there from Jake Mayer, but I think their defense looked obviously pretty solid, made some big plays in that game to get it done, and Rene Paredes can do what Rene Paredes does and kick game-winning field goals for the Stamps. So tough test really for them this week to see how they bounce back. They've had a game. They're 2-1 on the season now. They had, I would say close-ish wins over Hamilton and over Winnipeg, 2 teams that are winless on the year, and then a close loss to BC. That's a team that's looking pretty good. So Calgary's that team that's going to play a close game, it seems, no matter what. Historically, they have struggled to face the Montreal Alouettes and go into Montreal, which is where they're going into this week, even when they were the most dominant team in the league. So now they face the team that is absolutely most dominant. I agree with your tier rankings, Trey. Montreal is number 1 in the league to me by a wide margin right now. And frankly, I don't know who stops and slows them down, because how do you slow them down? I don't know what the answer is. It seems the passing attack. No one can stop Tyson Philpott, and even if you try, then Cole Speaker randomly has a 100-yard game, or Julian Grant, or Reggie White, or he got a full-on passing attack, and Cody Fajardo, I would say, is playing some of the best ball of his career right now.
No arguing it. I mean, Cody Fajardo, again, had that year last year where people were doubting him, and this year there ain't nobody. He might be, honestly, between him or Philpo. Who's your MOP on Montreal right now?
Oh, I think you got to give it to the quarterback. I know. Because you can make the argument both ways, I guess. If there was no Philpott, who's catching the ball? But if there's no Fajardo, would Philpott be getting the yards too? I think you got to give it to the quarterback, more or not, especially when it's close, right?
Yeah, I would lean that way as well.
I think Philpott's like slam dunk after 4 weeks MOC of the league, right? Yeah. Like, I think there's no argument there, but MOP. Like, to me, to give him the MOP, Fajardo would have to go down for 4 or 5 weeks, and then Philpott would still need to get 100-plus yards with whoever's the backup quarterback in Montreal. Then I would give it to Philpott, but I think Fajardo's been playing lights out.
And if ever there's a mark of, this is a passing league and you need a good quarterback in there, Montreal put up 30 points on the board and looked like they had a convincing win. Their starting running back, Walter Fletcher, ran the ball 6 times for 11 yards, and they couldn't be bothered to run, and they didn't need to be bothered to run. And that's what we saw from BC a lot of times last year, too, where when you got a good passing attack, as they've got, you really don't need to run the ball if you can throw 300 to 400 yards a game and multiple touchdowns. And that's what Cody Fajardo has been doing so far this year. And really, Caleb Evans even got in there, I think, for a trick play touchdown. So they're mixing things up. This might be the best Jason Maas team we've seen in a long time from him.
And disciplined. I mean, Jason Moss is usually known for taking a pile of dumb penalties, or his teams are, and I don't know, Montreal is not one of the most penalized teams in the league. I think that one is still Edmonton's or Saskatchewan's, but yeah, he's looked great as a head coach in Montreal. Boy, does changing scenery and languages do a lot for some people.
Apparently, yeah. Yeah, no headsets thrown so far this year, as far as I'm aware.
No Gatorade jugs were harmed.
Blessings to all the Gatorade jugs everywhere. All right, let's move into fantasy players to watch, unless you guys have any more storylines on this game. But I think it's pretty cut and dry that, you know, the betting odds, the line on this game tells the story that Montreal is this behemoth that nobody's been able to take down so far, which is why I like a handful of players on the Alouettes potentially for fantasy this week. Cody Fajardo is number one on the list. We talked about him. Only 14.7 last week for him. A little bit of a down game there. Rushing total was down, only threw one touchdown, one interception. But I think Calgary, is a defense that they might be able to exploit a little bit. I expect him to get a little back on track in this one. So I like Fajardo as a play at quarterback. I think he's going to be consistently good, if not great, at least every single week for you. Walter Fletcher, yeah, he only got 6 carries for 11 yards last week, but again, 4 catches on 4 targets. He's caught almost every pass thrown his way, and he's usually getting 3 or more passes thrown his way every single week. I think his salary is a bit lower. What's his salary at right now, actually, for Walter Fletcher? $9,100, so a bit of a discount at running back, but not as much as it used to be. I keep denying putting Tyson Philpott in my lineup, and you guys keep telling me what the heck are you doing? So I'm not going to deny it anymore. Tyson Philpott's got to go in the fantasy lineup. There's no denying that he's going to be the guy. 3 weeks of 20 fantasy points or more from Philpott, 4 touchdowns in 4 games for him. He gets those big plays, and he takes them for big yards and big touchdowns. And what is his price at? $10,000 only still. That is cheap for a player producing as much as Philpott had. Also, I do like Reggie White Jr. He didn't have as great of a game last week as I thought against the Argos, but 7 targets in that one, 48 yards on just 3 catches. And let me just check the favorable matchups chart here. Calgary gives up 15 points a game to left slot back, which is where Reggie White is lining up. So a good matchup there for him. So don't like anybody on Calgary in a matchup against Montreal, though. Trey?
Yeah, honestly, the only one I like in this game is Philpott. If I could fit Fajardo in, I would, but it's a little tight right now. But other than that, yeah, Philpott, I would stay away from Calgary completely. And Fletcher disappointed me last week, so stay away from the run game. Like you said, 4 carries, you said?
6.
6. Well, not much better. But, yeah. So, Adam?
If Just Juan could get a 7 points every time he gets a little dribble kick, then I would be picking him.
The dribble kick.
The dribble kick for life. Everybody there who complains about it, stop complaining. It's great. You know it. Anyways, now that I started more controversy in the CFL.
This is going to be a 2-hour. I see Trey shaking his head. This is going to be a 2-hour show now. You had to open the can of worms, Adam.
Sorry, guys.
Worst rule in the world. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, rule. I love that. That's unique. It's Canadian. It's cool.
Defend it.
Well, no, I think it has to go at least 10 yards. If you have to go 10 yards on a kickoff, and I remember in my high school league, we had to go 10 yards on the punt, no matter what. So I think it's got to go 10 yards. Because why is it 10 yards on a kickoff?
You know what? It just puts another layer of strategy to it.
I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but why is it 10 yards on a kickoff?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a fair point.
And is it 10 yards on a field goal, or is it
a
not
kicker? This isn't a kicker that's doing it.
It's still 10 yards on a kickoff, though. If a kick, what do you mean? It doesn't matter who's kicking it.
Well, yeah, but you have a kicker doing a kickoff.
So if you got a non-kicker doing a kickoff, it's still 10 yards.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, like I said, I like it just because, like I said, it adds a wrinkle. You have to defend somebody no matter where they are in the field. You can't just go and let Jess Juan Anthony run all over the place because you never know when he's going to do the dribble.
Also, like if he's he's had so little usage this year. If it's 2nd and 20 and he's lining up at wideout, put everybody on Jess Juan Anthony.
Absolutely, it's your own fault for not doing it.
I can't wait till they try to fake the dribble kick, and he fakes the dribble kick and then actually throws it. I want to see that happen.
All the strategy, man. I just want to, like I said, it's ultimate strategy. It's if you're leaving Jess Juan Anthony open and he does that to you, you deserve it. You know what he does. Like I said, I would love it if every team had one guy that would do that. Whether it be a Joe for Saskatchewan just making a little squib kick, or if it's Kevin Brown for Edmonton, whoever, I don't care. It'd be great to see for every team to do that. And
if the rule's going to be there, everybody should be doing their darndest to exploit it.
Why not?
To your own advantage. Who are you taking in fantasy, Adam?
Tyson Philpo. I mean, that's clear and obvious. Everybody's got to take Tyson Philpo. It's just the rules nowadays. I was actually, like I said, pretty much that's the only one I'm going to be taking this week from this game because, again, you can't take nobody from Calgary. And, yeah, you're right. Walter Fletcher had an off week last week. He might have a good week this week, but Calgary's not bad against the runs, so I'm not really that excited about it. But, yeah, no, Tyson Philpo. Clear as that.
All right, let me put up the betting odds here.
Why you do that? This isn't rugby. If I wanted to watch rugby, I'd stay up till 3 a.m. and watch Aussie football, man.
This used to be rugby.
I don't care. It's not anymore.
Why aren't you doing that anyways?
Oh, well, man, yeah. I got too many sports on my mind. You want me to add rugby?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Where's the rugby podcast? The TCU's lacking.
Oh, we need rugby sevens.
Two sports, no matter how much I try, I can't get it. I can't understand. Rugby, I'm closer. Other one's cricket. I have no idea what's going on. Rugby, I'm a lot closer. There was that video Russell Crowe narrated. It kind of made sense. Outside of that, rugby, you got nothing. But
cricket's just silly.
I cannot. What's going on? It's like lawn bowling with a paddle. But anyway, let's look at the betting here. Plus 9.5 Calgary going into Percival Molson Stadium in Montreal. I'm going to take Montreal minus 9.5. They won by 10 last week. I did say I do like Calgary, but I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I don't think this is a tall order this week. Like we said, they only just beat Winnipeg in overtime last week. Yeah, give me Montreal. And the 50.5, I'm going to take the over because, again, Montreal did it last week. I think it's going to be that 30-20 kind of game like they did last week. So I'll take the over on that. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going with Montreal as well. I have a hard time seeing anybody slow them down. Even though these big lines, they always get me. But I'm going to take the Alouettes on this one handily until somebody does slow them down. And sure, yeah, I'll agree with you on the over on this one as well, where I think there are some points to be put up on the board. Adam?
I'm going to go with the Alouettes. It's a big difference, but I guess. I think that they'll be able to score them by a touchdown and a field goal. Why not? But I'm going to go in the under on this one here. I think Calgary is going to get shut down pretty badly. That defense of Montreal has been really good so far. So I'm going to say that Montreal probably wins this one by maybe 20 or 30, but Calgary's not going to have much.
What does coin say, Adam?
Almost forgot the coin. Let me check here. The coin is going with the Calgary Stampeders at plus 9.5.
That happens.
That coin.
And let's get right into some prop bets here. One I like. Let's get a little crazy in this one. Let's parlay the Philpott touchdown, anytime touchdowns. Tyson Philpott and Jalen Philpott both to get a touchdown would be plus 760 or 766. So $5 would pay out 38-32. Let's get a little crazy. And the brothers will have a little competition. Mayer has to throw the touchdown to somebody, eh?
Um, I've got one here that actually I was kind of reading about, the CFL Big Play Special. So this is when there's a 20-plus yard rush and a 30-plus yard reception. Well, Cody Fajardo, they always said, was working in the offseason on his big plays. So I'm going to go with Montreal to score 4-plus big plays here this time, which sounds crazy, but you know what? They've done it. Last week, I think they were actually doing it. Plus 490. I'll go big or go home. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I was looking at that one as well. I wasn't going to go to 4. I was going to go to 3+ big plays at plus 250. But you know what? If Adam's given that one, I will give a different one here. I'm struggling, honestly, with a lot of these. Like, I see Fajardo over at 1.5 touchdowns, but that's not going to pay you out a ton. It's minus 205 on that one. Give me the Tyson Philpott yards on this one. I'll play it safer on this one. 79.5. I'm surprised it's not higher over the last couple of games. Give me Philpott over those. Even if he doesn't get a ton of targets, like 2 or 3, and he makes big plays with them. So I think this will play handily into Adam's 4+ big plays that he's taken here this week on this game. All right. I will mention as well, I was tempted by Jake Mayer under 267.5, but I also think he could be throwing like 40-something times this game because they're going to be down quite a bit. So it might just add up based on that. But my official pick is Philpott. Final game of the week here is the BC Lions visiting the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Sunday. The Ticats playing a 4th straight Sunday game. I'm not sure what's going on there with the schedule, but they are hosting the Lions here. The Lions 5.5-point favorites in this game. Trey, you want to kick us off? What interests you most?
I want to see if BC can actually put together a fuller game. They've been pretty close. Like, again, field goal win against Edmonton, a field goal win against Winnipeg. Before that, a touchdown and a bit against Calgary, and then a loss to Toronto. You know, they've been really kind of winning just by enough that they need to win, but I think this is their opportunity to try to win. Like, you would think an 0-4 team would be the one that they can beat up against, but who knows? Like, Hamilton's been right there too. They've only been losing by fluky little things, so I want to see if BC and Vernon Adams can potentially piece together a full 60 minutes. Adam?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'd like to see BC actually put together, you're right, that full 60 minutes. Whether it usually be the first quarter or it's the third quarter. They always have that one kind of quarter that they seem to sleep in. And then they pick up and give it the ball to Hollins, or they go and start throwing the ball around. And yeah, I mean, Engelhart or Earnhardt the other day with Earnhardt. Nevertheless, the other BC receiver, Hart there, he was looking good after a while too. So I'd like to see BC pull out a full 60 minutes. They might get some help also by the sounds of it. Maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but it sounds like maybe by week 7 there may be a certain receiver coming back. You want to talk about it, Ron?
Yeah, Keon Hatcher, and I'll throw in TJ Lee at defensive back. These are 2 guys that had massive injuries last year. We had them pegged to be out until, October this year or late in the season this year. They are full participants in practice this week. At least an Achilles injury for Hatcher. I think for Lee it was something similar as well, where normally it takes a lot longer to recover from it, and they're back to full practicing this week. And that's a rule now this year that 6 guys on the 6-game injury list can start practicing at week 4, which is where they're both at. They're not eligible to play right now, so we're looking at probably week 7 when they visit Calgary that these guys are coming back. But getting Hatcher back in that lineup is massive for this BC team that has really leaned on the likes of Alexander Hollins and Justin McInnes as their 1-2 punch. Now you throw Hatcher, one of the best receivers in the CFL last year, into the mix as well. How good is he going to be coming off that injury? I don't know. Like, sometimes it's a question mark, but if he's back practicing this soon, I would tend to think he's looking pretty good there for the Lions. So yeah, that's a huge boost for Calgary or for BC. from week 7 against Calgary onwards to get a guy like Hatcher back into that lineup to really just rejuvenate that offense there. And makes me sad that no waiver money left for me in the CFC Fantasy League, that I thought I was going to pull the wool over these guys' eyes and keep my monopoly on the BC Lions receivers, but Adam decided to drop $35 of his $100 limit on Keon Hatcher to make sure he gets him in his lineup.
Yeah, I wasn't playing around. I knew what Ryan was going to play in his game there a little bit.
You could have bet $1. You could have
I could have, but I was worried Trey was actually going to wake up. Apparently he didn't, and now he's left for a little bit here for a moment. But
you could have honestly bet $0 because you're behind me in the standings. You didn't need to bet a single dollar at all.
Nope, but you know what? I had to make sure Trey that Ryan was reminded what wager money looks like. Anyways, you know what? Let's move on though a little bit here to the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Hold on. Before we do that, I want to address this one comment in the chat on BC because I think this kind of hits the nail on the head. Coaching with Lee. It seems to me BC has the Kansas City Chiefs syndrome. Screw around and play with their food most of the game, then turn it on enough to win. It's a dangerous game to play. I think that hits the nail on the head because they've had a lot of close games this year.
Honestly, they could have lost that one against Edmonton last week. I mean, Edmonton was good enough. They were keeping right up with them, and yeah, BC was, I'll be honest, BC was fortunate to win that game. Even the game against, who was it? Calgary? I think it was. Beat them by a touchdown.
They've been close on Calgary, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. Yep. So,
I mean, like I say, they're very fortunate to be 3-1 right now. They could very well have been 0-4, or they could have been 2-2. BC's just kind of, you're right. It's the KC syndrome. They do that all the time, Kansas City. They play with their teams in the regular season, and eventually, they make the playoffs, and then they just light it up. BC hasn't done the lighting up at the playoffs quite yet, but hey, this might be the year where they finally turn around. Yeah, for sure.
But Hamilton, sorry.
Yeah, Hamilton. You know what? They've been very close in most of their games too. Have they really put their foot in the throat and then lost a game? A little bit with Saskatchewan in the game in Hamilton. But you know what? There's a lot of optimism in Hamilton, and there still should be. They might have not won a game yet, but Bo Levi Mitchell looks a lot better. Tim White has finally woken from the dead and came onto the field. And then I didn't have him in my fantasy roster, so maybe they could have told me something, Hamilton fans. Anyways, it sounds like James Butler won't be out long term. He might be out again this week. Hard to say, but he is cleared, I guess. So they might take a week or two, just precautionary. But you know what? Bell has looked good in that first game that he played. And their defense hasn't been terrible. I thought they were going to be a lot worse than they were. So, nevertheless, I think that Hamilton is one of these teams that could be the one to jump BC. What do you guys think?
Oh, I smell trap game for sure this week. You go, we want to talk about Winnipeg. Something's got to give. Hamilton's got to get a win too. They've been so unlucky at some point, and one of the two has got to win, you'd think, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, Hamilton, I mean, the big issue this last week was the special teams, right, with that squib kick, and they fired special teams coach Paul Boudreau, who FM fan in the YouTube chat is trying to send back to us here in Winnipeg after he was special teams coach here for a little while. But, yeah, that didn't go too well for them last week. I think their defense has let them down. We thought the offense was going to let Hamilton down this year because we didn't have any faith in Bo Levi coming into the season, and he's looked great. He was the highest scoring fantasy quarterback of the week last week. He's worth the $100. But, the offense has gotten it done. The offense drove down the field for that late touchdown. Maybe they should have not driven down the field as quick as they did, but they got the ball in the end zone. The defense couldn't come up with the stop they needed. The special teams didn't do their jobs. Something's happening with Hamilton each game. They come so close, yet so far away each time. Something is going to give eventually. I'm just a little bit worried about this matchup, and I'll get into that a little bit more when we get into the fantasy players to watch here. But
so which 4-4 team's the closest to winning here? What do we think?
Not Edmonton this week because they're on a bye, but
fair. But I mean, in next game, let's say Edmonton going to win. or is Hamilton gonna get their win, or who's closest to actually feeling like they're gonna win a game? Richard in chat says Edmonton. My vote would be Edmonton.
Edmonton's got back-to-back against Ottawa, so I guess if Winnipeg and Hamilton lose, I guess, and you would think Edmonton might beat Ottawa once out of those two, right? And then Winnipeg, so I don't know.
Yeah, Edmonton's kind of my leader in the clubhouse there.
But I really am I'm thinking I have a good feeling about Hamilton this weekend if it doesn't happen. But
any other storylines on this game, or do we want to get into the fantasy players here on this one?
Well, let's not keep them waiting. Let's go fantasy.
All right, let's get into the fantasy players to watch here. Yes, Bo Levi Mitchell was the number one quarterback last week. Yes, Tim White was the number one receiver last week. They're both not on my list this time around. And there's one big reason for that. To me, it seems Bo Levi Mitchell really targets the left side of the field. I don't know if that's the boundary or the field side or whatever it is. That seems to be BC's strength in shutting things down. They give up 4.8 points a game to starting left wideouts, which is Shamar Bridges, and 11.7 to left slot backs, which is second or third lowest in the league there. So left is weak side. Thanks for that. So I like Bridges still as a play because he's $4,500, and if he's going to get 8 or 9 targets a game, he's going to get you that value no matter what, probably in there. But I'm staying away from Tim White this week because I think potentially they lock in on him and shut him down. I'm staying away from Bo this week because I think there could be a bit more of a down game for him against this BC defense. Hamilton running backs. Let's wait and see who's starting there at running back. Greg Bell, if he's in for 2,500 or whatever he is, obviously that's a lock to play. Tricky thing is this game is on Sunday, so we won't see the depth chart for sure until Saturday, which kind of leaves you less roster flexibility. So I might just stay away from both Hamilton running backs this week because I do like a lot of the other options. Vernon Adams Jr. is almost always a lock at quarterback. Every week this season has been 20 points or more, and I don't see that changing against this porous Hamilton secondary. Give me Vernon Adams Jr. is probably one of my locks at quarterback once again, and so too are his wide receivers, Alexander Hollins and Justin McInnes. I might just play the stack again this week of the three of them at least. I will in our draft league for sure. But I would, I always want one of those BC receivers in there to stack with VA for me on that one. William Stanback, I put him on my list and iffy on him. Good bounce back for him last week. It really depends if he's getting the catches. He had week 1, he had 5 catches for 50 yards. Week 4, he had 4 catches for 41, and he had 2 games in the middle with zeros in that regard, and he had points down that wide. His point totals were down for that reason. So it's a toss-up. I had him on my list, but I think I'd go the direction of some of the other running backs I mentioned earlier than Stanback this week. That's how I see it for this game for fantasy. Some intriguing options, some definite stay-aways for me. Adam, what do you got?
I only really have nobody in this game. I switched him out just a few seconds ago. I did have Tim White, and then you gave me a good reason not to put him in there. So I would like to afford a few different guys. I would like to have Alexander Hollins because he's, always good. I can't afford him, so I'm not going to take a Lion, unfortunately, and I'm not going to be taking anybody from Hamilton just because – oh, no, sorry, I am taking one from Hamilton. What am I saying? I'm taking the Hamilton defense. Just because of one reason and one reason alone, I get 4 points and they're $4,500. So, save all the money you can, put them on receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, split it out, and make yourself happier because defenses pay nothing. They may win championships, not fantasies. Trey?
All I got in this one is Shamir Bridges. I think, Ryan said, NFM fans in the comments, 4.5 thousand and average is 19.2. Maybe you can't do that all the time, but I think that's the way I want to go. I did think about the defense, but then I was like, ooh, they're playing BC and watch VA go off, and then that 4 turns into -4 pretty quick. But I did think about it to get some more money.
Yeah, I definitely considering that as well. I think I forgot to mention them before. Kind of my leading defense, if I have the money, the extra money, is the Montreal one because it's Montreal's defense and we've seen what they can do. But I do like I do like the Ottawa pick we had earlier, and then Hamilton. If you really can't afford anything else, don't spend up on defense and then sacrifice the rest of your lineup. Speaking of spending, let's do some betting here on the line on this game.
Man, -5.5. The road favored BC. The battle of the cats, I guess. Lions and the Tiger Cats. Oh man, 5.5. I've always had Hamilton plus 5.5. BC's games, like we've said, have been close, minus maybe 1. I think this game will be, and Hamilton's lost by heartbreakers 2 all year. But I didn't initially have BC money line, but just something more and more, we talked about it, more and more I got that stink smell in the air of a trap game. So I'm going to take Hamilton plus 5.5, Hamilton money line, and give me the over on 49. I think, again, both of these teams will score. Because, again, 49 would be what, 25-24? Yeah, I think both these teams will put up over that. Ryan?
Oh. I was really leaning heavy into BC coming into this, and I saw you had kind of changed your pick or taking your pick of Hamilton here, and you do make a lot of sense about it being a close game. Hamilton has looked better, so you know what? I'll ride with you. I'll go with the Ticats plus 5.5 here. I'm taking BC to win, just win a close game here in this one, and yeah, I'll take the over on it as well. I think there's points to be had and yards to go around between these two quarterbacks. Adam?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this one here, and I can smell what Trey's not cooking there, I guess. But nevertheless, I guess I got to take this hat off and switch to this hat. Go to Hamilton. I think they're going to win this one, actually. I don't think they're outright. I think they'll win this outright. I'm going to go with the under on this one here, just because I don't know what it is with BC. One game they'll play great, one game they'll just be off. Hamilton needs the win. They know they need a win by now because otherwise they're going to get down too far against Ottawa. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Hamilton. It's not a must-win game, Trey. And what are you laughing at so hard?
Just a comment.
Facial hair, failed playoff, beard, hipster, next beard.
It's called the laziness to shave.
Yeah, see, there's clean and refined on my side here. There's whatever that red pushed golden thing is there, and then there's Ryan's.
Pretty much, yep.
So yeah, give me Hamilton, give me the under, and the coin is going to say the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Love it.
Coin is actually pretty smart this week, except for that Calgary pick. Don't know what was with it.
I'm just trying to look at some of the prop bets right now. Oh man, this might be one I'm like very uncertain of the prop bets. I guess you could always kind of lean towards VA and the 2.5 though passing touchdowns. Oh, I guess give me that. It's plus. Huh?
I said there's a lot of good ones on the list here.
Well, then you go ahead, Ryan. What do you got?
No, go ahead with what you had, Trey. Sorry, I didn't even cut you off at the same time.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I did good all year, and I did good all night, and then my thing froze just for the first time, and we're almost done. Give me VA plus over 2.5 passing touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah. You want to go, Trey, or Ryan?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that was actually the one I was leaning towards as well, but I'll give you something different here to mix it up a little bit. I got to think a little bit. There are a lot of good ones. I'm trying to pick which one's going to be my favorite here. Give me Give me under Tim White, 69.5 wide receiving yards. I'm really going to lean into that. Last week, I think he could hit something like 60, but I think BC's going to shut him down a little bit on this one here. Try to mix it up a little with some of these props here. Diversify, because Trey called me out on always taking over. So I think I've taken unders on almost every prop here today, but there are some I do believe in. The line was 69.5 there, Trey, not 65.5.
So I'm going to go actually with a anytime touchdown scorer. Give me Tim White at plus 105. Tim White will get one touchdown somehow here this weekend. Otherwise, I think BC probably wins this game. So, yeah, Tim White, get a touchdown. Not because
it's not one of these things is probably going to happen. Maybe both, but we'll see. All right, those are our odds. Those are picks on this game here. Again, check out the Discord, the CFL betting channel there for more player props for each game throughout the week. Let's get into wrapping things up here on today's show. Let me try to pull up the slides. There they are. We'll be back again next week with our Week 6 preview. Can you believe we're already moving on to Week 6 soon? I feel like the season's flying by here. Follow us on social media on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, at CF Countdown Pod, facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod. You can find us there as well. Trey's got power rankings every Monday. Adam's got a fun poll question every Tuesday. You can find links to the episodes there as well with the timestamps. If you're just joining us in late, want to catch different pieces of it. I try to get the fantasy value players to watch in there. I did miss last week. I apologize for that, but I'll try to get some out tomorrow on that one as well. So you can find that over on the social medias there. You can find me at CooperTrooper42. Mike, the forgotten, the lost child, will come home at some point, but sounds like he's got a pretty busy summer. So we don't know when Mike will be back on the podcast, but you can follow him and everything he's got going on at Mike Garrow. Trey, what do you got going on?
You can find me on the X at Trey Harnesslink. Always got fun stuff going on. UFC, horse racing, football, you name it. Find me there. Adam, man, how's the farm life going? Where can people find you, and what do you got going on there, farmer in Saskatchewan, wearing a Hamilton Oski Wee Wee hat?
Farmer and Oski Wee Wee, that would be funny. Anyways, no, you can probably at Farmer in Sask if you're looking over on the Instagram. I got lots of pictures over there of stuff going on, whether it be synchronized spraying, mainly me driving through a lot of water, or going and showing some of the crops off. All that stuff's over there. I also post a little bit on Adam Stewart 1. Not as much as I used to. I try to get something posted up there. But, like I said, you can find me anywhere really on social. Just look for this crazy ugly face and you'll find me somewhere, I'm sure. That and I hear, Trey, there's a little bit of a rumor going around that I got a place to stay when I come for the Banjo Bowl.
Oh, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. You'll have to bunk with my kids still, but we'll see. But I was going to say, when you said synchronized spraying, I thought you were going to say synchronized diving. The Olympics are coming up soon, aren't they? Isn't that this summer?
Yeah. Did the French also do some synchronized, defecating in a river?
Anyway, we didn't talk about it. Did Canada end up winning the under tournament?
They did, yes.
They did, okay.
They beat Japan in the finals after Japan knocked off the U.S. Crazy result there. I think I saw a stat like... What's that?
It was like 45-20 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that was like only 6 Japanese-born players have ever made it into the NFL or something like that, and they knocked off the U.S. in the Under-18 International Football Championships. Canada also had themselves a nice 110-0 victory somewhere along the way, and then ended up beating Japan in the finals. So congrats to the Canadian team on their big win over in the tournament in Edmonton.
So that means that all of you American fans that keep telling us to change back to 4 downs, the heck with it, that's official. Now we're all going back to 3 downs. including the NFL.
Yeah.
But I mean, they
You
did
know.
win. They did win 4-down football. So
It is
Well,
true.
we beat them in their own game. Now they got to try to beat us at ours.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess when teams from Florida win at hockey, Canada can win at football, right?
Yeah, it balances
That's
it all
right.
out there for sure.
I expect a Lombardi trophy in the mail.
The good old hockey state of Florida and the football country of Canada and Japan. All right. Check out all the other great shows from around the Canadian Football Podcast Network as well, at CF Pod Network on Twitter, and also the Alternative Football Network at the official AFN on Twitter, or alternativefootballnetwork.com. Lots of great shows going on both of those networks over there as well. Check out the Discord community if you haven't already. Link in the episode description. Free to join us there for all of the live CFL game chatter, CFL fantasy, CFL betting talk, all the nonsense there in between. And then whatever podcast platform you're listening on, we appreciate it if you do all the fun things such as like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends, help us grow the show. We always appreciate that. On behalf of Trey and Adam, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.